This meeting and all other meetings of this council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. We'll start with a roll call.
Rasmussen,
Here.
Gunderson,
Here.
Appleby.
Here.
Second item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from November 3rd of 2014.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our November 3rd, 2014 meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from November 3rd's meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizen appearances? Does not look like we have any. The fourth item is the discussion on the city logo apparel for the employees and officials.
Just got a real quick note on that. I could have brought the catalogs. We did get catalogs from Dockside Designs. While they quoted out just general polo shirts, the catalogs, they sent 3 of them and they're about stacked that high, so you can get pretty much anything you want to get to.
Right.
The one thing that's out there is, and as I've got a note, I did get you a note with a rundown of the items in your packet there. Just taking a look at what type of a logo you'd like to have on there. Nick, you've given me this one here.
Yep.
Sorry, my phone's buzzing here.
All right.
Is this something that you guys want to look into? And then I guess the question from there would be, at a prior meeting, talked a little bit about trying to get some type of a standard, maybe a polo or something standard for council. And then I'll be honest with you, with staff, we've looked through a little bit of the catalogs, but there's been quite a bit going on, right? And with vacations, we haven't sat down to say, here's what the shopping list would be, per se.
Well,
So the question then would just be, what type of logo would you like to have? And then from there, what type of, maybe you can start with the council. What did you have in mind? Was it polo shirts or?
I'm going to start out with something with long sleeves to finish out until spring.
Well, you can always roll your sleeves up if it's warm.
I don't want to wear a long sleeve shirt in the summertime.
I just roll them up.
Cut
It's
them
air
off at the
conditioned.
shoulder.
Cut them off at the shoulder, that's right. Maybe you got something with the midriff showing.
All right, I would think a polo is appropriate. Be less costly.
And this type of logo?
That's basically the logo we have on our city vehicles.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit different layout with the font, but it's.
Well, yeah, but I was just shooting from the hip. I suck at that, so.
No, that's fine.
So I wanted to keep what we have on our city vehicles, what we have on our streetlights.
It's on our business cards.
So it's everywhere. We're branded with that. We should stay with it. You know,
I agree.
and starting with the polo shirt is fine because you could wear
Long sleeve
another
underneath.
T-shirt underneath it if you so desire, and then just the option to buy other shirts,
Sure.
sweatpants.
What are we thinking for a color scheme? Colors of shirts? And when I say that, I'm talking probably more about you guys for right now. Did you want a standard color or a couple of colors or thought about it?
I know some people disagreed with me when I said we needed to stick with the school colors. But it's the same thing with branding. When your city gets known for that logo and the colors of the school, you get the continuity going. And so personally, I would like to go with the school colors and just try to.
Like a red polo with the logo being black.
Right, or white and
black.
red. You could, you could go either way. You're keeping with school colors. I would imagine though you'd have the black lettering because I would think that'd be, it would stand out better.
Mhm.
Mhm.
What we can probably do is get some concepts,
Mm-hmm.
and then that way, and I would imagine you're looking at an embroidered logo rather than a screen printed logo.
I would prefer it embroidered.
Yep.
And then once you pay for that computer program for the embroidery, you own it. You own the
Yeah.
logo then as well, when you pay for it.
I just,
And they do that at World Class too, but we buy our shirts. Gave you that guy's information. You can buy a ton of different styles of shirts and hoodies and you name it, and he gets them for dirt cheap, and then he just puts the logo on them. Then we offer them to all the employees and office staff on a payroll deduction basis, which is dirt cheap to begin with.
Foundry does the same thing.
You know,
Yeah.
Okay.
so should call that guy and have him come in sometime and do a presentation.
We probably could, what we'll probably do is look at maybe the January meeting, if that's okay. We'll
Yeah.
get maybe some mock-ups with some quotes. Now, you didn't take official action to go with a certain vendor, but we did talk about, I'll check with
Right.
the three that we got that were somewhat local with local businesses. They were pretty much the same price, but
Yeah, okay.
I do know Brandon Leschke had, and I told Nick this, Brandon had mentioned there's a website that the police department is looking at getting some polos through. It's like heroes247.com. Fairly cheap, but I know Scott, you did send me the contact info for that.
Even if you just wanted to buy the shirts from the guy and then have the logos printed locally, there's nothing wrong with that either. That kind of satisfies
Sure.
that commitment to hometown business to some degree, so.
Yep. We can take a look at that. Is that okay if I bring it back in January then?
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Item number 5, discussion on the status of the City Hall technology and security upgrades.
Now that you voted at the city council to move forward, finishing up the construction plans, and we sort of, according to Cedar Corp's schedule, we have a schedule where we're looking at March, April for a couple of the final decisions on this project for City Hall. One of the things that we've vaguely mentioned, well, two of the things that we've mentioned in passing but haven't really gotten into at the committee or council level, but staff and myself and Cedar Corp and Heartland have been working on a couple different things. What are we gonna do for office space when this construction project gets going? And there's a couple options. One thought is perhaps we could stay in the City Hall building, have them build out the two sides of the 3 lots, and then whenever, potentially there could be some type of a shift where then when they finished out those sides, we could move out of City Hall and get into that side. Cedar has given sort of an informal recommendation that they thought if there's a way for us to be out of the building, that we could perhaps get a better rate because the construction wouldn't be so limited in where they can be.
Sure.
And
They
then
go
with
faster,
that,
too.
they thought the time and perhaps the cost would be, more beneficial. So with that, we've been looking a little bit, or I've been looking for different locations for where City Hall could be. There's a couple of downtown empty spaces. I've inquired with the school about the old middle school, and they have a lot of storage, a lot of old desks. Basically where the old middle school office used to be, just off the lobby there. And I can't speak on any approval we've gotten, but they're looking into if there's a way they can clear out those rooms. Perhaps there's a way that they could get us moved in there. The next, and that might only have enough room for City Hall, general administration. The other piece is the police department. Now, the police department has been offered a office at the middle school just recently, so during the day they have sort of a work space, which could work for a lot of things during the school day or during the day, but the problem is you don't really want a certain type, well, I shouldn't say a certain, there's only so much you can do in the school with your police station, and you certainly don't want, at night, that probably isn't an appropriate office where you have the patrol I mean, and I'm just speaking off the cuff a little bit. We haven't looked into that, but one of the questions would be, where is the police station going to be? And then the third thing, if you take into account that we're also aiming to be digging up the treatment plant around April, May, and then having that dug up for 10 months, the thought had been with City Hall, we'd be able to move Public Works out of a new City Hall and into the treatment plant for their offices. But if the treatment plant is dug up, we're still sort of verifying what do we need there for office space. Now, the one option we have, or an alternative that we might have, is that we basically just installed new garage doors at the Taylor Cheese building on the back. And Agri-Pier basically, it was looking to relocate us out of our garage at the treatment plant. So that is at least halfway completed to be maybe a city garage or an interim garage. And within that, there is some space in there that used to be office, break room, locker, bathroom space at Taylor Cheese that would probably need some plumbing work. It would need maybe a new water line. But we've gotten a lot of the groundwork done there. And Agri-Pier has agreed to reimburse costs for getting the garage doors put in. So we're sort of halfway on that.
That's good.
And the good news is it's right there at the construction site or at the treatment plant. So there is an opportunity there. So basically, the idea of where are we going to be doing business when we're digging the city up, we're getting an idea of what that might be. And I would hope that by the end of the month, we have a pretty good idea on where we'll be. Because when we start to look at bidding these projects out, maybe in February, March, we're going to have to be able to tell people staff is going to be in your way or they're not.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the topics of the location of where we're going to be. And generally what we're looking at is May of 2015 through May of 2016, so almost a year. To add on to that, while May of 2015 is 5-6 months away, that still means for 5-6 months we're going to be in the city hall right now. And about a year and a half ago when I first started, we talked about some of the security and access concerns at City Hall. And the city council had approved, I believe it was up to $10,000 for security enhancements for the lobby of City Hall. Now what we have done is for, I believe, under $1,000, we put on the secure door lock on the back door so that at least we funnel people to the front door. One of the things that Jerry and I came and talked to you guys about was, even though you gave us something of an authority of up to 10 grand for improvements, we wanted to be super careful not to spend a lot of money and then have it torn right out right away. And I'll be honest with you, it sort of was put out there for discussion, and then it kind of died because we thought, well, we're going to get there with City Hall. Let's get an idea for how long we're going to be in the building.
Right.
And right now, it looks like maybe 5 to 6 months we'll be in the building. We've had probably 3-4 instances or individuals that have been sort of unruly at City Hall, either on the phone or they've been in City Hall, and they're basically right on top of everybody at City Hall. Now, one of the things we could look into, now that we know how long we'll be in that building, is the idea of potentially a window at the front door at City Hall. And this is something that I know Nick and I talked about. And we are going to look at getting some quotes on trying to be cost effective with trying to get, I don't mean to say bang for the buck for whatever we're going to spend, but the big idea is we don't want to spend a lot of money and then tear it out.
There's
Window.
a side window by the door, right where the water
I took a picture
box
of it
is.
today. I could show you.
Yeah, and my suggestion was, we had talked about, was making that window into a pass-through, so that if people had business with Becky or Trina, they could just slide it under the glass.
So here's from
Yeah.
the lobby looking, and you can pass it around if you want.
Versus
Yeah,
them
right.
having to
Right.
walk right in.
That's
Right.
looking at the
Why
front
don't they,
door.
why don't they just
Yeah.
go in the, why don't they go in the interrogation room, cut this out right here and put your
Well,
secured
because
window in
You
here?
could, but I just thought that if we could do it right here, you'd be that much cheaper.
Right there?
Yep. Replace that one. For 5 months. Replace that window with a pass-through. So that the girls would just come out, take whatever, give them whatever they needed. It'd be fairly inexpensive for 5 months, a 5-month fix. And that way they wouldn't let anybody through that door.
Or they could for people that need to get
Well,
in.
they could if they needed to, but they would have the ability to control. And that would also control the number of people going back by Patrick during the day. So that he would have the ability.
Oh, would control it to the point, it depends on how the girls handle it. They're the ones that'll have to
Right.
screen that.
Right.
And
Mhm.
it could get,
Well, they won't be able to get close to them at least. And then I would put a camera in the up in the up in the ceiling up there. Put a
Yeah.
camera down.
I almost went and got a Black Friday $100 2-camera home security system. I almost bought it the other day, just to say,
You probably
Here we go.
still buy it tonight on Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
You could get it online.
I think I took a picture on one of the phones too, just to say, well, here's, it was a
Alright.
Walmart. I can pull it up. Well,
I
Shane's
know
been
what
in
you're
enough.
talking about,
Shane
yeah.
cleaned the windows for a while, so.
Right.
Okay.
I know.
I know what you're talking about, that pass through, but I thought for 5 months, the quickest and easiest way to get this
I
done
think you're right.
would
That
be to
would be-
put some secure glass in there, build a pass through,
yep.
you know, in that way, yeah, they would have to get up and come around to see people, but they would still not have to get that close. They would be protected.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece, and not to minimize the security or safety aspect of that, but like on a day like today, so we have one employee's on vacation and there's only one left. Well, we take in money at that front counter, and when there's only one person up front,
Right.
and somebody comes in and says, hey, I'd like to see Patrick, or I'd like to see the police chief or whatever, well, if they get up to come and get me or whatever, well, there's money there.
Everything's
I
wide
mean,
open.
it's locked, but there's money there.
Right.
And
No,
without cameras, without anything, I mean, people are just, it's as easy as just reaching over, you know?
right,
Yeah.
because you could come and greet them then.
Yep.
And then would you be able to use that interview room for them to sit down and wait to be if
Oh,
they
could,
were
yeah.
coming in? Would that be able to be used then for that?
Yep.
Well, I think that's a great idea then.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting anybody in jeopardy. They're sitting in an area that's locked off from everywhere else, and you guys can monitor them. And
Yep.
Yep. No, so that's the idea, is to take a look at what can we do, you know, and it's changed. People are still upset about that back door being locked. We
Right.
had a sign for a while and then we, you know, but
That's all right.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah.
the good news is there's a big difference in the flow of people wandering through the building.
Yeah.
Now when they're coming in, they're just bypassing the front door, which is, it's not the best,
Right.
but it's not as bad as it used to be though, too. So-
Right.
right.
No, but I think this is a way to go.
That the police department moving is a very, 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 very major event from the standpoint of evidence handling and how secure it's moved and
Yeah. So that's,
gonna, might have to transfer everything to the county. Inventory everything, which I hope it already is, and then
yeah.
take it up to the county and lock it up. Whatever it is.
So the other thing with security then is, as we've looked at the city hall plans, there's been money set aside for IT and technology with the new city hall, but one of the other pieces of the project is going to be what kind of security we're gonna have. And Jerry and I and Brandon have been sitting down, and Eric's been in on it too from Public Works once in a while, just to talk about, we've got the plans laid out, and we've got it down to where every door and window is, just to kind of lay out, okay, you know, what type of security system are we looking at getting? Is it just door locks? Is it cameras? We're working right now on trying to get something of a plan, so then that way we can start to get an idea of what that might cost and how that'll work with the design plan. So that's the other piece that we're working on.
Do you have people coming in and sitting down with you and looking at your plans that are specialists in this area and to
Yes, and
pick their brain a bit?
yep, and we've right now, just on the wiring, because Heartland services all of our stuff right now, that's who we've talked to about what we have and what we may have. Now, Heartland can assist in writing out bids and RFPs, and they've also had experience where legally and ethically they've helped out with that process, and then they've also put in a bid, but it's been something of kind of a fair process from my understanding.
Okay.
So that's sort of where we're at. We're not just kind of shooting from the hip. They're helping us out with security. I'll just go to the next one, would be technology upgrades. Some of the things we're looking at right now are, the phone system we just had approved and we just put through. And that, it sounds like, now we had a little bit of a hiccup with scheduling because we got to get Charter in because that's the service we're switching to. We have Charter internet now, but we don't have the phones. And then Heartland has come in, they've set up all the servers for the phone system, and we have all the phones. They just need to coordinate with Charter for a day, and it looks like it's December 17th right now is the date.
Switch it over?
Yep, that will be switched over.
But you
Some
have
of the other-
internet now, you said?
We do. We've got and it's the Google, I can just tell you the Google packets, when you get a city council packet that's color, it was taking like 12, 13 minutes, because it would go, just for me to load it up, it'd go 2, 4%, 6. And those same packets it's 2 seconds and it's up. So you could tell we're supposed to have 30 times faster internet than what we had, and it's about right,
Wow.
So that's going pretty good, and it's cheaper than what we had before too, which was part of the discussion we had
Yep.
on Charter. So that's good. The other thing with the technology is, the servers that we have, and also the Microsoft licensing. We technically don't really have licenses for Microsoft Office like we probably should. When we go buy a brand new computer, in the
Yeah.
past we've been billed $300 for basically buying Microsoft Office for each computer that we've had. Now I think been a little bit of cheating, I think, where you can have multiple computers. There may have been computers that are using the same.
I think you can have up to 5.
I think so, and I because I don't really know, I'm just vaguely aware, and not on purpose, but that's just how it is. Every time we go to look to get a new computer now, we're looking at $280 to $300 for a new box of Microsoft Office. Heartland has a couple different options. There's bulk licensing, where we can just pay for licenses, and then we'll get the physical software, and then we'll always get updates. So whenever there's updates out there, we'll always get them. But
Automatic.
that runs $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 to get that. But there's another option, which when you think about the potential for us to be moving out of our building, there's something called Microsoft Office 365.
Yep.
And it's sort of like a cloud-based, your email. So the city of Weyauwega email that everybody's got, it's through Outlook, which is an Office product. If you go with 365, you would have, basically it's a monthly rate depending on how big or how small you want it to go. So for us, staff that need Excel, Word,
Yep.
PowerPoint, all of that, it's like, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's like $30 a month or $40 a month. But on top of that, all of our documents and all of our email can be in the cloud. And when I say that, right now, our server that sits in my office is powering our network and everything. And it's outdated, so we'll have to look into getting that replaced.
Yeah.
But if we go to an Office 365, technically we could all be upgraded. The council members could get the most basic package for email, and we could all be sort of covered on a month-to-month basis. So we've got a meeting, I don't think we firmed it up, but it was either later this week or next week, with Heartland to talk about security, Office 365. The other piece is with our server, it's probably going to be really expensive to go buy a whole brand new server and get that all put together. And when I say expensive, maybe 8 to 10 grand, somewhere in there. Heartland had floated the idea that at their facility in Little Chute, they actually have servers, and they're like a data center where they could technically act as our server. And that might probably be a good idea to look into for our construction interim period, for sure.
Yes.
So we've asked them for a little bit of update on that, with a quote on what that might run. I would think automatically that would improve our remote login, because right now you guys have to log in to email, and most of the time the email works, but hooking into our server and our files almost always does not work now.
Yeah.
So with me, it's tough when I'm out of the office, to be hooking in. That's one other thing we're looking at. The other thing that I know the police department has talked a little bit about, and we've talked about it with the treatment plant and our alarms going forward, is the idea of smartphones or tablets powering some of our systems. The police department has looked into some of their programs that they run in the squads that need a lot more horsepower than maybe your regular tablet that just gets on the internet. So Heartland is looking into, if you went to a tablet type system, what could that do for you? How would it help you, and what might it cost? So that's another piece that we're looking into.
Sure.
On our end right now, whenever our guys get an alarm call from the water or the sewer plant, they get a phone call and they have to hit a dial number, and a lot of times it'll call them and say, well, we got an error. And then they actually physically have to come downtown to City Hall and then try to figure out what the problem is. As we upgrade the treatment plant and the SCADA alarm system, we'll have better software that we might be able to have a smartphone for Public Works, or maybe a tablet that when it calls them, it tells them, well, what's going on, and they could check that out too. So there's a couple things we're looking into. Not ready to come to you yet and say this is what we need, this is what it costs. But the only other thing I've got, there's two things. One would be, right now we don't really have a computer replacement plan or policy. And when I say that, a lot of our computers we haven't bought from a standard place, and on top of that we haven't bought like a Dell computer or an Acer. We've got a couple that we bought locally at a couple of different vendors, and that's okay. But when we've bought those, they're custom built computers, and so when something goes wrong, we have maintenance agreement with Heartland, but because they're custom and because they didn't build them or sell them to us, we run into a lot of problems. And then when they get issues with the hardware and the hard drive and that,
Yeah.
there's just issues we've had. So getting a plan on how long can we keep a computer, when should we be rotating them, I mean, that's just something that we'll be working on. And then on top of
Doesn't
that,
anybody have a government program?
oh yeah,
Any of them, Dell must have, or
Yep, a lot of
somebody
them do.
that we couldn't get on, somebody in Madison, what are they buying?
yep. And when we got on that value program, the
Right.
value bid program, they do. I mean, they bid out. I'm seeing right about now all the car bids and computer bids, and there are
Okay.
bids out there for
You should be looking at that.
discount stuff. But the idea would be to try to get a plan. How long can they last? When should we replace them? That type of thing. And then the other piece is, as we look at moving out, and if for those of you that have moved before, you got to pack up, and that's usually not a whole lot of fun. But at City Hall, we've talked about some of the old paperwork and files that have been there, like back from the 1850s and 1880s. There's probably 25 years worth of paper documents upstairs just on the city records. And a lot of that's pretty cool stuff to hang on to. And it's easy for me, knowing that we don't really have a lot of electronic stuff past maybe 8 years, 10 years ago. It's easy for me just to say, oh, it's upstairs and it's in paper and somebody's got to have it. But if we're going to move out of that building, well, for sure when we renovate the building, we're going to have to move that stuff out. And I don't know that I want to move it out and then move it somewhere and then move it back into a new building. So we're probably going to be looking at scanning documents. Microfiche is a program that we have with a scanner where we can, scan it and save it in a smaller.
25 years worth?
Well,
Well,
longer than that.
one of the things we've
more.
had is,
Holy
so
moly.
if we do that, we might need some help. But
Yeah.
we'll take a
Yeah.
look at that. One of the Band-Aid fixes that we have on storage for our server right now at City Hall is we've got roughly 1,000 gigabytes of storage, and we're full. And to add on top of that, we've been recording videos, and we're still storing that footage. So we've actually had a lot of our software programs that back themselves up quite a bit. We've been deleting. I mean, some of them are unnecessary. It's too much or it's duplication. So we delete some of those. But we're to a point where to store more stuff, we're deleting something else.
How much storage do you need?
Well, right now, what we did, we had 1,000 gigabytes. And I'll just tell you, for $200, and it might have even been in these bills through Heartland, was able to offer us 2 terabytes on a hard drive, which is, I believe each terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So 20 times the storage space we've had for $200. We ordered that, and Heartland installed one for City Hall and one dedicated to the police department. So we can at least start shipping that stuff off.
Right.
So for 1,000 gigabytes is what we got now. I think it's 1,000. No, it's 100 gigabytes we have right now, and City Hall's going up to 1,000. Each one of these videos for the meetings is 3 to 4 gigabytes. And looking at our YouTube channel, we've got 20 meetings. That's almost 60 to 80% of our storage right now is just going on these videos, which I think are a very good thing, but they're taking up a lot of space.
I don't know how long you have to save them for.
And that's you know, because they're on YouTube,
How long
you know,
you-
it's kind of a new thing where we got them on YouTube, but we also, I burn a CD or DVD with multiple meetings, so we got that. And we also have them on the network too, so.
You have, excuse me, go
Yeah.
back to that. You have, Heartland is going to give you
So grab me the,
two
grab me the folder up.
terabytes?
Yeah, well, we have 2 terabytes.
Yeah, 2 terabytes.
Okay, you have that now. Which
We
is
do. We
1,000
just got it within the last month.
which is 2,000
Gigabytes.
gigabytes.
And right now we've only had, it's 100 gigabytes is what we've had.
Okay, talk to you after the meeting.
Yeah. And it's been, I think it's a little over $200 is what we did for now anyway. It's enough storage for now. And what I've basically been doing is taking photos, videos, all that stuff and shifting it off. To put it on it's a new drive we've got now, but even that's still a physical piece of equipment that if the building, something would happen to the building, that's something that we lose too. So we really
Right.
don't have a good backup off-site. But that's something that we're looking into. So the story with technology and security is that there's a lot going on, and it's a really good time for us to make sure that we're incorporating these things with the final design plans for City Hall. On top of that, the city council chambers, we haven't had a discussion yet on what's the level of technology for that room. And with that, Heartland they just recently renovated Little Chute, which is where they're located, Little Chute's Village Hall. And Heartland has said that if we wanted to set an appointment or a tour, they would take us through Little Chute and show us what they had. Now, I think at first, before they got going with their project, they had quotes from $10,000 to $180,000 on power blinds on the windows and everything. I mean, there's a lot you can do, but just identifying, you know, what do you want to have? Do you want to have docks for your computers? Do you want to have screens where we can shoot documents up for the public? You know, what types of things would you like there? And we just haven't, I mean, we've got some ideas on our end, but at the council level, we just haven't talked about it. So I'm thinking that for the January meeting, it would be good to get in January, before we get the final plans all put together, get an idea on what you want to do,
All right.
what it may cost too, you know. Because there's a pretty big range in 10 to 200 grand.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it'd be nice to be able to have a setup where you can expand and make better down the road for a minimal cost with some forethought in the planning going forward, that someday you may upgrade, say, to automated blinds or your storage.
Yep.
For your computer data. You're gonna want to have a lot of it, or you won't have to be worried about jamming it up and deleting things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start scanning in all that history, which could take several years,
Yeah.
you know, as a project,
It may.
where will you store all that?
And how much do we have? Right now it's 2 rooms full. So what does that mean? You know,
I think that's over 2 terabytes.
could be. It depends on how you scan it in. You know.
Yeah, it depends on how you scan it. You know, it may or may not be.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell right now until we start for what you're going to use.
Yep. But the big thing is we're working on it, and there's a lot, but now's the time to really be, we got an idea that you guys are looking at moving forward to finish the design plan. So, if we would have spent a lot of time on this and then found out a year went by or 2 years, well, then it would have been, a lot of it would have been
Obsolete
redone anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
Keep
That's all
working.
I've got. That's all I've got. The one thing I'll probably do is just, if you want to note in this that you did authorize, or the past city council had authorized up to $10,000. Now, I'm not planning to do that, to spend $10,000, but I'll get an idea on what might be involved and how much, and then I'll report back to you guys on that too. So, I don't know. I'll go from there. We'll go from there with the costs.
Was that the dollar value, or was it 5,000?
Either way, it's not going to cost that much.
I don't think it's going to.
And I would hate to see you wait any longer than
Oh, no.
necessary
Right.
to get started on that.
It's going to probably be more of a report to you, or worst case scenario, report to you at the city council meeting,
That's fine.
which is 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
a
at
report
most
is
2
fine,
weeks.
but I don't want to see you in a holding pattern,
Right.
just get it done.
Sounds good.
Now, is that glass that's on that door that will be modified then to be unbreakable?
We've talked to, I've talked to one contractor. I'm going to probably talk to as many as I can to try to come in and say, what would you do?
Right.
And what would be the most cost effective for what you're looking to do? We'll probably go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you done?
I'm
with
done.
your update?
Yep.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to item number 6, which is the discussion and possible action on the year-end vacation comp time.
I've got just probably an update real quick on, if you'll remember last year, in the past, well, before last year, the policy manual had said that anybody that wanted to carry over vacation time from year to year or past their year had to come to the council and specifically ask for that. Last year, we modified the personnel manual that any employee could carry or request to carry over up to a week, as long as they talked to their supervisor, which was the police chief or myself. I think it worked pretty well. The one area we ran into was the fact that we also changed the vacation policies too, because before this year, everyone reloaded on their anniversary dates.
Right.
So everybody was just trying to get everybody straight for January 1st, and it worked pretty well. It didn't, the report I had was, nobody got double the vacation and nobody had any vacation taken away. And I think that was the big thing, is we wanted to make sure nobody
Right.
didn't get vacation they had coming. I think it worked pretty good, so I was satisfied with that anyway, and everybody was pretty easy to work with. So we've got that set aside. Having said that, we did hire a new public works employee, and he started August 1st. That's Tyler. And our vacation policy says that for the first 6 months of your employment, you don't get any vacation time.
Right.
And so he'll have 4 months in by the end of this year, won't get any vacation until either February or March. Another policy we have on compensation time, so overtime that you work that you don't want to get paid for, you can just bank the time. For the police department, they can save a couple days and carry them over, but for public works in the office, they have to pay everything out that they have. And so specifically for Tyler, he had asked me, knowing that you can carry over up to a week of vacation, and knowing that he doesn't have any vacation, but he has hopefully a vacation planned early in the year next year, he had asked that in lieu of paying out up to a week of vacation, or comp time, could he substitute his comp time and carry that over into early 2015? And my thought
Within
on,
the first quarter?
right, and that was the caveat on carryovers, was that it had to be used by the end of March, or you would lose it then. And so what I'm saying to you guys is that instead of paying out, in a way, it would save us a little bit of money to pay, not have to pay that out. And knowing that in the first quarter, he'd have to use the time, or that he'd have a vacation, he probably wouldn't earn enough comp time to cover that anyway. So what he's asking for is, can I just take that time off instead of you paying me out extra early in the year? So the one request on his end would be to allow him to carry over up to a week of comp time. And then the second request would be, after I spoke with all the employees, their intent is either to use all their vacation or have a couple days that would fall in that carryover plan. So there is no one else that's got anything in particular or extraordinary, except for on my end, you have a note in your packet, and obviously you all know that we're expecting within the next month our second child. And
Why don't we deal with Tyler first?
You can
And
do
then
that.
We'll go, then we'll
Yeah,
go
go
with
ahead.
you,
We'll do that.
Yeah.
because you're a whole special story here.
Yeah, you're right. So basically what he's looking for is authorization, and what I'm looking for is a recommendation to authorize him to carry over up to a week of comp time into the first quarter.
How do
of
you feel about
2015.
it?
I think there's a couple things. He doesn't have vacation time, so the time he's taken off, he's taken unpaid so far. He does have a vacation or a week that he's looking to use, so it's not, basically he's thinking, well, right now I have the time, and either I can get paid now and take it unpaid later, or I can just use the time to take off. And when he gets to like March next year, it's kind of a moot point anyway, because he'll get his vacation then.
Sure.
So in a way, I mean, it saves the city a little bit of money extra that you had to pay out now. I mean, he could earn enough comp time in the early next year to try to get some time off, but I think it's probably a reasonable request, I would think.
I think so too. This does not set a precedent.
No, I mean, I
for
would
us
think,
at all, does it?
I don't think so.
You
I
know,
don't
we're
think
just-
so. It's as long as
a
we're
timing thing.
doing it on a case by case situation.
Okay.
But having said that, it's up to you guys to determine whether that's appropriate or not. It's not, so either way, he's not losing time, because either we're paying it out in 2 weeks, or we're gonna let him just take it as time off.
Nick, you have an idea on that?
I don't have a problem with it, as long as, like I said, we do it on a case-by-case basis, because I don't want them carrying that over, I don't want this to be a habitual thing,
Sure.
But given that he has just started and he doesn't have vacation,
Exactly.
I don't have an issue with it. So you want to put that into motion?
If you
Shane?
could, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'd like
But
to
yeah,
hear
go
from
ahead.
you on that.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I think that's fine as long as, we do it case by case, and that they're not making a habit of doing that.
I'll make a motion that we allow Tyler to carry over up to 1 week of comp time.
I'll second that.
We looking
As
for a
long as
motion
he's-
or recommendation?
It's a motion to recommend, so yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
As long as it's used within the first quarter.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now it's your turn.
So you can let him know that that's good to go.
When it goes to council, yeah. We'll do that. First quarter. Okay. When I get to mine, I've got a little bit in the memo there on what I'm looking at. Right now, I've got, in my contract, I get 3 weeks of vacation. And I had carried over a week into this year, so technically 4 weeks. What I've got left is, and I believe my week that I carried over into the first quarter, I'm almost certain I didn't use that week, so I lost it as of the end of this first quarter, which is okay. but I do know that at the end of this month, or sometime in the next month, we're looking at our second child coming. And the intent is when we have that baby that I'll take hopefully a week off, but some more time off because it's just going to be needed. And right now what I'm looking at is a little over 2 weeks of vacation. And I want to say even with the carryover, I think it's almost 3 weeks that I've got. And the problem with that is I don't. So if I work like tonight, I when I take my vacation time, I haven't like said, oh hey, I'm working 2 hours Monday night, so when I take 4 hours off the next day, it's really only 2. The actual hours I've been gone, I put down 4 hours on Tuesday I was on vacation, and even at that I've had kind of a difficult time this last year just taking the time. And we talked about that. But right now what I'm looking at is there's a couple different things. One is I know I'm going to take a week or 2 off. The due date is like January 5th, but it looks like, I mean, you just don't know. You
right.
guys know, we won't get into that. But so the intent is I would take time off. I'd also look at probably carrying some time over, I would think. Now, I don't know what that looks like because if the baby comes December 15th, well, then I kind of get a better idea when I'll be off. But if it doesn't come till January, the problem is if I would request or ask to have any of that paid out, usually when you do the payouts, you want to get it done in the last payroll of the year so that it's posted to that year. So the way this works is the last payroll is December 19th. And it's through like December, I don't have a calendar, that Saturday before. So anything I take from like December 12th till the end of the year technically isn't paid until 2015. So the give or take I have is if I've got, I think it's roughly 2.5 weeks on mine. Now, I don't have anything here for Jerry, but Jerry's looking at 12.5 days, but I think his intent is to go to the police committee to talk about that.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that, but on my end, what I'd like to know is if I carry over some time, the plan is when the baby comes, I'm going to be using it. And until then, if I could pay out a little bit of it or some of it, that would be good too. And the problem is right now, because of the timing and getting it paid this year, if that's allowed, it's hard to kind of guess either way which way you go, whether I'm going to use it, if I'm going to take it, pay it, carry it.
Well, why don't we just leave that, can we leave it open until such time that your child is born and you have a better feel for when and what time you need?
We probably could.
And just let it ride. Let it ride up till the point of the birth of your child and then come back and then we'll work with you on it. That's my suggestion.
I haven't got any problem with that.
Don't fret.
Sure.
Don't fret over it.
Okay.
I want you to reiterate what you said earlier, which it kind of bothers me. You said that you had lost a week of vacation. You figure in the transition in the last year.
I hate to just say that, but so technically, if I carried a week over, which I did, the week needs to be used in the first quarter because we didn't want people to just carry it over until infinity. And I can tell you that going back January, February, March, I didn't really take any vacation at all. So in theory,
but
that week could have just gone. No, it's just gone. I did get a payout. I got a payout last year of a week, and I carried a week over.
Right.
The 1 week I took was the week my wife put me on a plane and we went to Florida. But even at that, it was 5 calendar days. I just wasn't in the office those days, and then it's hard because
I guess I'm not comfortable with that either. Yeah, I think that I understand that you must use it by March 31st or 30th. How many days are March? I don't know. But then what's left over, you've earned that vacation. It's in your contract, or if you're an hourly employee, you've earned it. So if you don't use it at the end of that time, it should be paid out.
quarterly,
Right,
by
if-
the first, end of the
At
first
end of the
quarter.
first quarter, if you
I
haven't
mean,
used
you
it,
automatically get a check coming,
you, right,
and
you
that's
should be
it.
paid out. You can't.
Exactly.
You can't lose what you've. That isn't right.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and
That's not
it's-
right. You lost a
it's-
week, you
Yeah.
got some payment coming.
I would think so.
Darn right.
I don't know.
We might have to
You know,
revisit that
not
in
to
the policy
come
manual.
to you and say, well, I lost a week. That wasn't, the intent wasn't that. It was, I
Well,
think
no, but-
that's just probably what happened, you know?
But that's not
I know.
right. And we,
But that's not right.
you're right. This
Yeah.
is something we're gonna have to get addressed maybe in next month. Because we wanted to address the job duties anyway and
Oh, yeah.
such, but I think we need to address the vacation policy and look into that. Nobody should lose the vacation time.
No, not at all. That's just no.
Okay, so the question then would be, so the idea typically has been if you pay out 2013 time, you'd like to keep it in 2013, or 2014 time, you'd like to keep it in 2014. But the problem is that in reality, the way our pay periods are structured, technically your first pay date in so for 2015 would be for 2014 time. So you never really get lined up completely with that.
Right.
But my big thing was, you know, we talked a little bit in the past about the potential to pay out some of it. And I'm not saying, I think even last year it was one of those things where we set it as not precedent setting, but that we'd take it up every time.
Yep.
So the question is, if you feel comfortable holding it off until after the first of the year, we can do that, you know, and take it up then. But my big thing was now, this is the last round of meetings to still get something paid out this year yet, if you wanted to keep it in this budget.
Are you concerned about the payout on it, or are you more concerned about the physical time off to be with your wife? What, are you balancing that? You don't know which way to go
Well,
with
part of
either, or
it,
what?
because I don't know when she'll, you know, when I need to be off, I don't know. But then the other part of it is, January 1st, I'll get a reload on vacation too. So then if I hold it, basically what happened this year was I carried over a week, and the idea is in 2013, I didn't use 3 weeks. I carried one over. And then if I couldn't use 3, well, now I've got 4 because I carried one over. If I couldn't use 3, probably can't use 4 unless you, for quite a while, you just wouldn't see me maybe, or I'd take off. But the problem is, so carrying over or paying out or whatever it is, you know, in my contract, I've got a set amount of vacation, and then it's, if I take it, I take it. If I don't, it's out there. Now, to really get deep into it, which I don't want to do yet, but like I said, if I'm here 2-3 hours at night, I haven't really been tracking and saying, well, you know what, I just put in 16 hours on Monday, so now I'm off on Tuesday. And I don't know that it's ever going to get like that, because when you employ me, you ask me to do my job, whatever it really takes. And I think that's within reason, you know, but
Right, but if you work 16 hours on Monday, I wouldn't call Tuesday a vacation day, your salary, so
right.
that
So
means that you do as many hours as needed, and if you're not needed, you're not here.
yeah,
So that's not vacation time.
but accounting for that would compound the vacation problem I sort of have already, if that makes sense.
So really, what would rectify this is giving you a payout on 2 weeks.
I think for right now, what I would ask, and what I put in the memo for the packet was, if 2014 has to be paid out in 2014, and you can go either way on that, but typically that's what you do, is keep it in the year. Because right now I don't know what kind of time I'm going to be taking off, and because I know that there's really only, we get paid this week, and then we get paid again on the 19th.
You can draft a check at any time.
I'm not particularly concerned with which year it's in either.
No.
I'm more concerned
Sure.
what do you want to do?
You're gonna know
Do you
by
want
January
a
1st.
week or two cashed out, and then another week and a half of vacation plus what you've got next year? Is that what you're asking for? Or?
I'll have to look, and I'll be honest, I'm not taking a look at the idea of losing a week. I haven't really even looked at that, but the one thing I do know is I probably have 2 weeks and a day, so like 11
Okay.
days, 12
So
days.
If you have 12 days,
Yeah.
what would you want to carry over to next year? All 12 of them?
I probably could do that, but then I've got almost like 5 weeks of vacation for next year. Would I use it? I don't know. I know that sounds really out there.
So you have 2 weeks right now that are kind of floating in the air for this.
Yep.
And you're concerned that next year with 3 weeks, you're probably not going to use
I think
it or however.
it
Then
sounds
you-
goofy. I think I could use it, but the big thing is,
And you're not
Yeah,
sure
couple-
because
yeah.
due dates can fluctuate.
You might
could
want to
go
cash
there
out
and
1
that.
week and carry
Yeah,
another week
something like
over
that.
into 2015.
But if it's
Yeah.
2 weeks in December,
Mm-hmm.
so why don't you just, for this time, and hopefully this time only, unless of course, come next year you're expecting another child.
No.
Why don't you wait until after the child is born, after the first of the year, so you know if you have to take vacation this year, how many days you have to take. And we'll address this next year with what you have left, and
Okay.
we'll see what you want to do.
Sounds good.
Is that
Very
all right with
good.
I'm fine
everybody?
with that.
I
I'm fine
agree.
with that.
Very good, Nick.
Yeah.
Well said.
Okay.
And as far as the chief, I think the chief should go to the police.
Yeah, and that was the idea.
So I would rather have the police committee address his
Mhm.
time in his hours.
Mhm.
It's better left there.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay, good. Moving on then to item number 7 on our agenda, update on the city assessor and reevaluation for 2015.
We do have a document that went out. We're collecting quotes. What I did do is essentially we've put out a deadline of it's either next week Friday or Monday at noon before the council meeting. So what we may end up having to do, potentially run this right to council or have a 15-minute council committee meeting beforehand if we could. I will just tell you that we did get the document put together. We can collect quotes, and it's one of those things that it was there on the list to do, and it's time to just get it done. We've got
Right.
it out there. So I don't have anything for you tonight, but it's because we did give some time till to still have action taken at the 15th at that council meeting. So that's the update. And I think what I put in your packet here is the date.
Yep.
Hoping to get it done for the 12th. Yep. They have all that info put together anyway. It's the Friday before the council meeting.
That reevaluation process will take a healthy year.
Yeah,
Is
it'll
that
take
about right to
most of a year, maybe even a little bit longer than that. Now you did it in 2008.
Yep, right before.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
have an
good timing.
idea what it'll cost you, but it's
Right.
something that we got to do because we did get the notice from the state now. We got the warning notice last year that said, hey, you're out of compliance. This year we got the notice saying that your assessor has to go through training, basically, that says, well, here's how you need to keep us into compliance now. Even though our assessor has to go through training, on some level it's the city's. I mean, we're taking action to fix it, so it's. We'll talk about that probably at the council meeting too, on that training requirement, who's got to go to that, because you have Associated Appraisal right now.
Right.
If you don't pick them, how does that work? And part of what I'll take a look at too with the state is, if we have them, well, then it's kind of a non-issue on who goes to training. But if we pick somebody else, well,
They might already have the training too, though, depending upon who it is.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's.
But it would be and whether they have it or whether it's a mandatory thing, it's, yeah. We'll take a look at that, but that's,
So you'll get with Scott on the 12th and you two will hammer
We can do
out
that.
whether we need to
Yep,
just
or-
have a meeting or not,
yeah, we'll
whatever
do
he
that.
desires.
Yeah. I'll give you a call. Now, what we do have is the plan commission, there's a plan commission meeting scheduled for the 15th at like 6 o'clock. And it's basically the hearing on the TID. But there won't be any TID discussion at that meeting. It'll go to January's meeting. This was something that Ellards had just put together, so it's not, I don't think it's been in your packet. We didn't talk about it at the council meeting a week and a half ago, so. But there's already a sort of a special meeting for the plan commission, but it's right before the full council meeting anyway,
Okay.
so. Okay,
Okay,
that's the update there.
It's a lot of update.
thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to item number 8. I'm looking for a motion to approve checks 31043 through 31090 totaling $51,536.93 and the monthly financial statement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded.
We're back with sound?
Just a muffled sound.
I don't know why.
Did you ever get rechargeable batteries?
We ordered some, yeah.
You ordered
I
some?
just got a package today, I think we just got it. Cheap.
Okay. Of course, you get what you pay for too.
Well, yeah, but these are just, I think these things, they cruise through battery
They're
power,
gonna eat it up.
which, but, I mean, they work too, so.
They work really well. Get a lot of nice compliments on that from the
That's
people
good.
watching the videos.
It's good. Maybe we'll talk just a little bit louder then to pick up, because now it's just picking up off of
The
the camera itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Okay, sorry about that.
All right, moving on, the item number 9, which is the administrator's report.
Just have a couple of items. Number one, and this is just relaying what's in your packet. We're aiming for, at the January Finance Committee City Council meeting, pulling together a resolution to close TID number 3. Essentially what that is it's Industrial Park West, and it includes the Larson Co-op facility. What that will do when we close TID 3, it basically brings Larson Co-op out of TID and onto the general, so that all their taxes will be on the general tax roll, which will be good. We'll see hopefully an uptick in general property taxes. But that will also free up enough space that we can create TID number 6, which is what we're talking about for AgriPure.
You haven't heard, I know Madison was looking at raising that percentage. And there was
I
talk
haven't.
of 16% instead of 12.
And
But they haven't
to
done
my
anything
knowledge,
yet.
they haven't pushed anything through on that. So that would help for sure. As far as this goes though, until January, technically we don't have TID 3 closed. And there's a schedule that the Department of Revenue puts out that says in January, if you pass a resolution, you have 60 days then to close out the TID. And with that, there's probably going to be about a $100,000 payment that's owed. Now on top of that, I can tell you that the city has an investment that's marked TID reserve, and it's been in one of our investments. Now, there's about $300,000 to $400,000 in there. Now, it's probably tied to TID number 4. You have about $1 million in borrowing that's out there yet. We have to hold on to a certain amount of reserve so that, we have some capacity or some ability to pay some debt down. Now, whether that $100,000 can come out of there is something that we're taking a look at. So
Okay.
there's a possibility that the $100,000 we can take from our reserve and then close it out. But the idea would be that in January we'll be looking at closing out TID number 3. Now the other item then is that the auditors plan on getting here the week of December 15th to take a look at their preliminary field work, which is just taking a look at how are things going at the city. I can tell you that after they straightened out last year the software conversion, the hope is that we won't have anywhere close to the amount of work that they'll be doing to straighten out the software because that's what they did last year, and there was a little bit of an extra expense that was put in on that, but that's not the intent for
No, let's hope so.
this year. And then just the other thing, which we mentioned a little bit before, was that same week is when the city hall phones are probably gonna get switched over to Charter into the new system. So that will be good too. I don't have anything else on my report.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Shall we set the January finance meeting date and time?
You what, maybe January 5th?
Sounds good.
That's the first Monday in January.
The only thing I may have is I believe that is that's the date that if we don't have a baby by then, we'll have a baby by that day, but I'll double check because we can maybe play it by ear a little bit on that too.
We can certainly put it in there for tentatively, and we can certainly work around your schedule
Sure.
and Libby's.
Yeah, well, you know,
Good luck
you
with
know.
We can work around Libby's schedule, don't
Yeah.
worry.
I did, when Mason was born, I actually missed it was during a county board meeting, and it was during redistricting, and it was during pretty high level politicking, so we, at the county board, they didn't pass a map that night because they were 2 votes short to get enough, or whatever it was, they had 1 extra no vote, and because I wasn't there, I
Yeah.
thought the headline the next day would be they were 1 short, you know, and then here I was, but Mason got a little bit of run in the Green Bay paper anyway, because on the bottom it said, oh, we was in the hospital with their son or whatever, so you never know. The January finance meeting might be a pretty big deal. Or maybe we'll move it there, I don't know. See.
Yeah, what's more cameras in there?
Yeah.
Libby's gonna want that. I assume be real receptive to
Yeah.
that type of
Yeah,
it.
oh, yeah, sure, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, January 5th, like 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good. Okay.
Okay, and such other matters as authorized by law?
I do
Is
not
there anything
believe
else?
that I have anything. Not
Okay.
for this. I was gonna talk maybe a little bit about the injury and the car accident with Paul, but I'll bring that up in public works, so.
Okay.
Sounds good. Other than that, I've got nothing.
Was the employee driving a company vehicle? Was it a city vehicle?
No, it
At
was,
that time,
he was a passenger in his own personal vehicle.
Yeah.
It was on Saturday, so it was out of, he wasn't on call or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All fair? All in favor?
Aye.
German, aye.
7:17.
7:17.
All right.